listening to the Air Raid Hour of Buffalo Fanatics Video Experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Air Raid Hour. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me, as always, on Twitter at Judge Mathis, and I am joined by my co-host, Dave Tilton. You can find him on Twitter at Tilt Money. We are presented by the Buffalo Fanatics, and as always, by Sim Bowl, and we are joined by a special guest out of his hibernation, and even after their disappointing tourney run, he's still got the same banner in the background. We got Jeff Landers join us from the BF Tailgate.
Man, it was a great run while it lasted, and I really wanted to congratulate you on UB Amherst making it to the NIT. So,
well, and so it begins, ladies and gentlemen, and so it begins. The BF Tailgate rivalry of me and Jeff Landers is back in full force. But Dave, before we get started, talk to us a little bit about Sim Bowl. Oh, we got Dave muted.
I'm an idiot.
Kendall,
there we go. There we go. No, that is not Kendall's fault. That is my own fault. I was muted before the intro video. Anyway, symbol.app/fanatics. Get your $10 deposit bonus. What I've noticed with Symbol, I know a lot of us are on Twitter. They're putting a lot of daily good stuff out there around like changes in market values, top 4 movers up, top 4 movers down. It's interesting because in the last Symbol report I wrote about the Dolphins actually being priced higher than the Bills, the Dolphins were a big mover down the last couple of days. So their price seems to be kind of coming back to the norm there. So anyway, head over to symbol.app/fanatics. I'm in on the Sim Panthers. We know Rico's in on the Sim Bears. And obviously you can get in on the Sim Bills if you want to. So there you go.
We got a ton of...
Just let me jump in here. Kendall, Don't worry. My apologies for yelling at you as a TV guy. I was always yelling at producers in the background who were making us look bad. So we'll blame this one on Tilt. It's okay.
Got a ton of regulars in here. We got Chris Janke in here. We got Richard Rush, Ryan Horton, Elliot Eisler. Chris Janke saying he's planning on trading in some beads for tickets in New Orleans. Andrew Tadros. I'm not even going to try to say that name. AK Cash. Andrew Miller's in the house. Charles Marzek's in the house. Sheldon Cole is in the building as well as Jason Humbert. So we got a whole bunch of you. Remember, if you guys could, James FX90, Daniel Gowries, all in the house. If you could, please, Lone Wolf, smash that like, subscribe, and share. Much appreciated. Helps us with the old algorithm. I know we got about 40 of you guys in here right now. We'll probably have about 200 by the time this show is over. So just keep reminding people to smash those likes. We got the Kingpin himself in the building as well. And our recent,
what's up, buddy?
Our recent draft day winner, Kim Boomhauer's in the house as well. So let's get things started off with the schedule. And Jeff, you're the guest. So initial thoughts, the Buffalo Bills schedule released yesterday. What are you thinking about this schedule?
I actually got I don't want to say an argument with Drew Gear over at the Rockpile Report over the home opener because I was highly disappointed in the Steelers opening things up. Having beaten them 2 years in a row, what's the storyline around the Bills and the Steelers for the opener? There's not much of one. I don't think so. I thought the season opener could have had a little bit more sizzle to it, especially after Bills fans were hyping up the Tampa Bay Thursday night season opener week 1. I think Pittsburgh at home kind of fell flat and was a little bit of a dud for an opener. Now, I'm starting to come around to it because I'm looking at the schedule on my board that is just above my computer. So if I'm looking above the camera, it's my apologies. It may look awkward, but from a competitive standpoint, I think it played out very evenly. And I'll tell you one thing about weeks 5 and 6 at Kansas City and at Tennessee. Yes, I know they're reversed from last year. I think it was what they were supposed to be, and then we ended up playing them opposite, right? We played Kansas City first last year, right, and then played Tennessee. Well, Sean McDermott learned.
It was the same. Yeah, we played Tennessee first, and then we played Kansas City, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was all that COVID mix-up. But 2 road trips. No, sorry, we had Kansas City at home. Anyway, what I was going to say is Sean McDermott learned something from that stretch of games last year, especially with the COVID mix-up. And the NFL is giving him a chance to use it this year. Other fans may look at that stretch of road games at Kansas City, at Tennessee, weeks 5 and 6, and go, maybe have a little bit of pause. Bills are going head first into those two games because Sean McDermott has something up his sleeves. What it is, I don't know, because he's a hell of a lot smarter than I am, but he learned something and he's going to use it this year.
Yeah, and a couple of things you said there stick out to me. Number one, I think I'm warming up to the Pittsburgh game. You talk about storylines. A bunch of people have pointed out to me, they're like, well, Miami and New England are both playing each other in the 4:00 window up against the Kansas City Cleveland game, which is probably going to be the national game, which means the Buffalo Pittsburgh game is probably the number one game in that 1:00 window, which means it's going to be nationally broadcast. And not to mention that the Boston market and the Miami market are cleared out because they're playing at 4 p.m. So the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have one of the biggest audiences of the weekend, despite playing at 1:00 in that 1:00 game. So that was an interesting little tidbit, but it's Roethlisberger's last stand. It's, can the Buffalo Bills put the final coffin in the Pittsburgh Steelers, sort of a changing of the guard of maybe the Rust Belt team, the Rust Belt darlings in the National Football League, because I think Buffalo and Cleveland are probably vying for what Pittsburgh has had the last decade. So they had a Madden draft with, Najee Harris and Freiermuth. So I think there are some really interesting storylines there. I know they're going to a vertical offense this year as opposed to that dink and dunk offense they had last year. Let's see how well they can do with that offensive line. So I think there are some storylines there in that Pittsburgh game. So Dave, before I move on to the next point, what are your thoughts on that Pittsburgh game?
Well, I mean, I think there is sizzle to it. I mean, they're both, Jeff mentioned we played them the last 2 years, but they were also those last 2 years we played them were late season games. In 2019, that was the game that clinched the playoffs for us in 2019. And in last year's game, obviously, really kind of really put the Bills up into that conversation as being one of the best team in the AFC, if not the second best team. And we had to prove that we had to beat Pittsburgh because they had the great record. And obviously, they were both on Sunday night games. They were both nationally broadcast. So there is some sizzle to this game. There's not necessarily, I wouldn't say, a rivalry, but there's a little bit of recent history there. And I will say there is more sizzle to that than what it has been in 4 of the last 5 seasons we've opened against the Jets. And I think the only other open we've had was Baltimore, where we got absolutely destroyed. So sure, it's a division game if you start against the Jets, but to me, this game has a little more sizzle than if you were to start against someone like the Jets, although it is a division game. So I'm okay with it. I'm also obviously happy we're starting the first game at home. So that's always nice. And I do think initial thoughts were I really liked the 3 out of 4 at home to start, and the 3 out of 4 at home to end the season was a big positive that I took away as well.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing too, is we don't have any 3-game road trips.
I would also say, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, I will also say that a couple of my history lessons did plan out. We do have back-to-back NFC South opponents, which I mentioned in the preview show, and we did have 4 primetime games, which I mentioned in Rico's show on Tuesday. So we'll give myself a small pat on the back there for prognosticating that.
Research.
Brooke coming in with a super chat. I always appreciate you, Brooke. He says, she says, personally, love 1:00 games, works best for me. A couple other people came in. They're loving the 1:00 games as well. But let's take a look at the schedule, because Jeff, you pointed out, you said Sean McDermott's probably got something up his sleeve for those Chiefs and Titans games. Schedule's sitting pretty. It's sitting pretty heading into at Kansas City, at Tennessee. It is Pittsburgh at home, which I think we can all agree is a very winnable game. Probably, I would say 60-40 Bills. Like it's extremely winnable. Miami, we're playing Tua Tagovailoa. I don't care if it's in Miami. I don't care if it's in Buffalo. I don't care where this game is being played. I don't care if it's being played on a freighter in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. If Tua Tagovailoa is their quarterback, they don't stand a chance against these Buffalo Bills. Then we head to Washington.
Not to mention Josh Allen owns the Dolphins.
Yeah,
so
and he owns them. Yeah, you're right. And it's in Miami, his second home. Washington is going to be a low-key tough matchup. Ryan Fitzpatrick has done damage to us before. That defense for the Washington Redskins have is very good, but it's at home. And then you have Houston, who could have Tyrod Taylor as their starting quarterback. And
can you imagine that? Back-to-back Fitz and Tyrod in back-to-back games? So that would be something.
And even if it's Deshaun Watson, they have a head coach who doesn't deserve to be a head coach. He doesn't belong there. He's out of his league. They have a roster that's almost 100% transformed from what it was last year. There's absolutely no excuse to lose that game to the Houston Texans. So to me, 3 of the first 4 games, you 100% have to win those, and you have to be heading into that Kansas City and Tennessee game at 3-1, and then you have to be leaving those 2 games at 4-2.
Oops,
what are you guys'
sorry.
thoughts on that? No, it's all
right. Yeah, 4-2 at minimum heading into the bye week.
I would say that's.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I didn't. I thought you were done. I would say I think that's exactly what you need to be. I honestly think there's a very good chance you could be 4-0, and then again, what happened last year, you might lose 2 straight heading into the bye. But I would, if you're 4-2 heading into the bye week, your only 2 losses better be to Kansas City and Tennessee. That's what I'll say.
But here's the thing. I don't think Tennessee's going to remain as good as they were last year. I think they're taking a step back. And that could just be me and a gut feeling. You guys may be able to tell me what you think of the Titans better, but I don't see them being able to maintain. And that's just a gut feeling. And Buffalo has split the last 2 years down there. Or their last two games against Tennessee. I think they're 2-1 over the last 3 years, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, and Steve and I said on Thursday show when we were like talking about, Monday show when we were talking about the predictions and like which teams on the schedule like look to be maybe that they're going to fall back, and which teams look maybe like they're going to be better. Like we both mentioned Tennessee as a team that could be falling back a little bit. They've lost guys on that defense. They obviously lost Corey Davis to the Jets. They still have King Henry, but I thought they had a good draft, but they have some wild cards. Farley, we don't know with the injury. Like, so there's some questions around Tennessee. I think I'm with you on that, and they're definitely beatable. I mean, the Bills are going to certainly have a chip on their shoulder going into that game this year after what Tennessee did to them last year on that sort of pseudo prime time that they got at like 5 p.m. or whatever it was.
Well, and that was the last time Buffalo has lost back-to-back games under McDermott, was Kansas City and Tennessee. And I don't think it had happened 2019. I can't remember it happening back-to-back games off the top of my head. Losing back-to-back games under McDermott is rare, and I think COVID last year had a lot to do with that. So I'm not worried about Tennessee, that Tennessee game, especially you could say it could be a trap going into the bye week because players are going to be looking forward to the bye coming off of a very tough Kansas City game. You could make that argument. I don't know if I would buy it.
You know what's going to reinvigorate the Buffalo Bills, no matter what happens in the Kansas City game, and even though they might be looking forward to the bye week, is the fact that it's going to be a Buffalo Bills home game. Like, it's going to be a Bills home game in Nashville, or at least it's going to be a 50-50 split. It's going to look like one of those college bowl games. I think I've already seen on Twitter, the Nashville game is already sold out and the New Orleans game is already sold out. Like, Bills fans, when those 2 games were announced, went absolutely crazy. So, Bills Mafia, especially coming off of a year of lost football, are going to go absolutely nuts in Nashville. We might have a Buffalo Fanatics presence there. I know. And
New Orleans gets off easy that it's on Thanksgiving. New Orleans is a 1,000% better trip than Nashville. New Orleans is 1,000% better.
Bills Mafia in the French Quarter on the biggest drinking night in the year. On the biggest drinking night of the year, Thanksgiving Eve. Like, it's going to be absolutely insane. And we're going to get to the best road trips in a little bit. But before we do, 4 primetime games. Did the Buffalo Bills get enough? There were a multitude of teams who got 5 primetime games. We're sharing 4 primetime games, the record of 4 primetime games with teams like the Las Vegas Raiders and the Chicago Bears. Meanwhile, these teams all got 5 primetime games this season. Baltimore, who we beat in the playoffs. Pittsburgh, who we handled easily in the regular season, and then were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. San Francisco, who didn't make the playoffs last year, even though they do have Jimmy G coming back. New Orleans, who knows if their quarterback might be Taysom Hill because Sean Payton might be that crazy. And the Dallas Cowboys, who literally don't have a defense. And if they do have a defense this season, it's going to be fielded of 10 of the 12 players are going to be linebackers. All of those teams have 5 primetime games this year. I know the market has something to do with it, but really the Pittsburgh market and the Baltimore market are that much bigger than the Buffalo market in terms of TV ratings, because you saw the way the Buffalo Bills crushed the TV ratings last year every time the Buffalo Bills were on prime time. So is it a travesty that some of these teams got more primetime games than the defending AFC runner-ups, or is it just the way our schedule was? Because we do have the third easiest schedule in the National Football League. Jeff, what do you think?
Here's the thing. Our home slate is not that attractive. I mean, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, New England, those are probably the 3 best games as far as attractiveness to eyeballs across the country. So to give Buffalo a whole bunch of primetime games and make them all away, because you have Tampa, New Orleans, Kansas City, Tennessee, all of our good attractive games to the viewing public are on the road, quite frankly. I mean, Pittsburgh might get some draw. And who knows, maybe Sam Darnold emerges from the haunted house of the Meadowlands and can deliver something with Matt Rule down in Carolina, and they're good by week 15, but that's TBD, and the league's not going to take that chance. And quite frankly, I don't think that game's going to be flexed to Saturday on its own window. I don't think it will.
Which game was that again? Sorry.
Carolina, week 15.
Yeah. I mean, does that Bucks game have a chance of getting flexed?
No. CBS is going to protect that. CBS will protect that.
CBS will protect that game.
Ironclad fists.
Maybe
and that's a 425 anyway. So like the chances of that getting moved are probably pretty low.
Maybe at New England, that's a 1 p.m. game. Maybe Atlanta has a good year this year, or the Jets surprise some people. That Indy game sticks out like a sore thumb to me. It's 1 p.m. on CBS. I mean, could that Indy game be a flex game?
What week is that? And it's because
week 11.
So
because you have to compare what's on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football this year against that game. And
Monday night
have to come up a huge
week 11
a huge dud.
Week 11 is Giants at Bucks for Monday Night Football. So with those markets, like with Brady and the Bucks and New York Giants, like they're not gonna
unless the Bucks do it like a nosedive.
And then Sunday night is to me not a good one. It's Steelers and Chargers. I don't love that.
That could be our flex right there. So that could be our 5th primetime game. That's the Indy game.
That
That could be Sunday Night Football.
But I mean, Herbert could become a draw. I mean, he was coming on at the end of the last season against an outgoing Big Ben.
Here's the thing.
It's probably like 10% of the LA market. And who is there?
I believe the Steelers.
The bitter San Diegoans.
I believe when I
gauntlet of a schedule this year and won't be relevant by then.
I believe when I looked at the analysis last year for primetime, the Steelers.
We play 4 days later on Thanksgiving, though.
Well, there you go. The Steelers and the Cowboys have the most games on Sunday Night Football, I believe, in Sunday Night Football history since it moved to NBC. The Steelers, for some reason, they're constantly on Sunday Night Football, and I'm not surprised they got 5 primetime games. I'm really not. Like, as much as like they may be on the down, like the downswing, they still were like won 13 games last year or whatever. So they're going to give them a chance to show that they're still there. And Lamar, he's a draw for a casual football fan with the Ravens. And not saying Josh Allen isn't, but Lamar Jackson is a draw for a casual football fan.
Sorry, Matthew Montgomery with a good point. They wouldn't flex Indianapolis because that's 4 days before our Indianapolis or our Thanksgiving game. So
I will say
Thank you, Matthew Montgomery.
4 primetime games seems okay to me. Like I'm not upset about it. What I am upset, and Jeff made this point, is we only had one home primetime game last year, if I'm not mistaken, and we only have one again this year. And unfortunately, the schedule kind of worked out that way, where we don't have a ton of great home matchups. I mean, it happens like with NC State Wolfpack in college for me all the time. Like they play Clemson, and then the rest of their schedule is terrible. Like there's not a lot of good home game. Like I don't want to buy season tickets because they don't really have a lot of good home games. It's kind of the same situation for the Bills this year. There's just not a lot of good games. So while I'm upset that we don't have more than I'm more upset we don't have more than one home primetime game, but I can also see why we don't based on the opponent. So 4 to me seems okay. I'm not upset about it. I mean, we were going through years and years where we were hoping to get more than just the Thursday night game, right? That was it. Like we would get the courtesy Thursday game, and if we were lucky, we would get hammered by the Pats on Monday Night Football. All right, so like that was our history, and now at least, I mean, we are expecting and knowing we're going to get multiple.
Come on,
it's nice.
Give the organization some credit. I mean, Monday Night Football against the Patriots 2018, Derek Anderson started for us, and we were still in the game in the fourth quarter.
We were.
So
I mean, and that was one of those games where you wish like you could have had like a Josh Allen team playing host on a Monday Night Football game. Like that's what I really want the Bills to like host a Monday night game. And I believe what our one home primetime game is the
Monday versus New England.
The New England game this year. So they're finally getting them at home, and they finally get New England at home, which for years it seemed like we were always playing them on the road on primetime.
An interesting note on that game. All right, so that's week 13, Monday, December 6th against New England. We will have an extra 3 days of rest going into that game following our New Orleans Thanksgiving game.
Yep.
And I like that. Going into a Bill Belichick game with 3 extra days of rest can only help.
Mm-hmm. And another thing just holistically about the schedule, and I think it was either Ombre or Lob or someone mentioned it. I mean, we don't go further west than New Orleans or Kansas City, right? Whichever one's further west, I don't know. But like that's it. That's as far west as we go. Our other sort of, quote, Western type games like Houston would have been, but that's a home game, right? And so we're fortunate we're playing the NFC South this year because in reality, 3 of the teams in the NFC South are on the East Coast. So it is kind of a nice from a travel standpoint as well that we're not traveling a ton.
Yeah, Dave, you're bringing up a bitter point for me and probably for Judge too, being down in Arizona, because I'm a drive from Las Vegas. I'm a drive from Denver. I could get to San Francisco, and I could drive down to Phoenix as well. The Bills were coming out west 4 times last year, and I couldn't get to any of them because of COVID. Judge, you got to be feeling my pain.
I had 3 trips planned last year. I was going to do Denver. I was going to do obviously Las Vegas, and I was going to do Phoenix, and all 3 were canceled due to COVID. It's a struggle, but honestly, here's the thing now too. I don't think we can afford Las Vegas, Jeff. Those tickets. They just built a nightclub in one of the end zones.
And that's also why they're getting primetime games, because they want to show up that stadium.
They want to show up the stadium.
Well, I did have a hookup with somebody who had season seats in Vegas through a mutual Bills friend. So we would have gotten those seats, and
you would have obviously given me one, right, Jeff?
I would. Well, that would have been before I knew you, because you didn't come in until halfway through the season last year, asking for my help.
All right,
somebody got a little overwhelmed and needed some veteran relief coming in the middle innings.
Hey, every good manager knows when to call in the closer. Am I right? So
just ask Miami's head coach. Call in the closer.
Oh man. Who do they have this year? Brissett's the closer, right?
Oh yeah. All right. So schedule's in. So now it's time to predict the Buffalo Bills 2021 record. And I'll tell you what, guys, like I saw our schedule and I was just looking at the team. We're not going to go too crazy, Matthew. We're not going to go too crazy.
This is a super early, just like off the cuff.
Super early, just looking at it. Like, Kenny G's coming in 14-3, calling it now. Possible L's, the Chiefs, the Titans, and the Bucks. Let's just look at the schedule because obviously anything can happen. But I wanted to here's the thing. I looked at our schedule this year and I'm like, man, like there's no easy wins in the National Football League. And a lot of the teams in the AFC East got better, significantly better, most of them. And I'm not going to lie to you, like before I really took a deep dive into our opponents, I wasn't feeling confident. Like I was like, man, this year's going to be really, really tough. But then I looked at the quarterbacks that we are projected to play in the 2021 season.
Yes, sir.
And here are the projected quarterbacks in order. It's Ben Roethlisberger. It's Tua. It's Fitz. There should be an asterisk next to Deshaun Watson because it could be Tyrod Taylor, depending on his legal issues. Patrick Mahomes, Ryan Tannehill, a bye week, Tua off a bye week, rookie Trevor Lawrence, rookie Zach Wilson, Carson
Nice
Wentz.
picture of Zach Wilson. My goodness.
Jameis Winston.
He takes after his mama.
He looks like a tennis player. I mean,
we got Mac. It's either going to be Mac Jones or Cam Newton. Based on how late we're playing them, probably Mac Jones, Tom Brady, Sam Darnold, Mac Jones again, Matt Ryan, and Zach Wilson. Like, not exactly a murderer's row of quarterbacks. I look at that graphic and I see what? Mahomes is better. Deshaun Watson, let's call it even.
Suspended. He'll get suspended.
Matt Ryan is a quarterback that I think could go toe-to-toe with Allen when he's playing his best. Obviously
Brady's in there. Yeah.
Brady, obviously. I think a guy like Fitzpatrick is always giving us trouble. Tannehill's giving us trouble. But outside of that, like, the Buffalo Bills should be able to handle 500-year-old Ben Roethlisberger. We probably might have an easier time with a Carson Wentz than we did with the Phillip Rivers. So to me, not exactly a murderer's row of quarterback. Does seeing the opposing quarterbacks that we are supposed to play make you a heck of a lot more confident? I'm talking more wins than last season. I know there's another game in this year. You think we can get more than 13 wins this year, Dave?
Yeah, we can. I mean, we can. Will we? I mean, the only thing you would say about that list of quarterbacks you just threw up there, there is a lot of unknowns. Like, you made the comment about Wentz and Rivers. Like, I don't know that Wentz is worse than Rivers, or he will, or that he will be in that game. Matt Ryan, like you said, can have a good game at any point. I don't know how good Trevor Lawrence is going to be as a rookie. All of that, you said you had Mac Jones twice, you had Wilson twice. That's four times playing a rookie. Then you got Lawrence. That's 5 times playing a rookie. Like, chances are you should have the advantage in those games. But again, what's Lawrence going to look like by week 7? Hard to say. Like, Allen should still be better than him. And the other guys like Tua, what has he shown that makes you think that he's going to go toe to toe with Allen after one year? Like, nothing.
I rewatched that week 17 game for fun the other day. Oh, he's so bad. He's so bad. And I get that he didn't have a lot of weapons. Don't get me wrong. Like, there were some ugly drops by guys like Mac Hollins and Isaiah Ford. But I don't care what receivers he has. Like, that dude's got a noodle of an arm.
I still think
it's not great.
The Colts will still give us trouble, though, I think, because we saw what happened in the wild card game with Rivers dinking and dunking us down the field. Now, if the Colts don't do that kind of, don't have that kind of offense with Wentz, then maybe we're okay. The Falcons are a weird team to me. Like, they can be really good one week and really bad the next week. They were like that last year. Kind of remind me of the Denver Broncos a little bit, where you just don't know what you're going to get from them. Chiefs and Titans are who they are. Jags, honestly, you don't know. I don't think you know what you're going to get from the Jags by week 7. So I think you can get more wins. I think that, Vegas has our win total right now at 10.5, which seems pretty low to me. I would think that I would think it would be over. And they're obviously baking in the 17 games. I mean, 12 or 13 seems like kind of like the floor for me. Like, when I look at that,
and that's the thing with that 10.5. When you look at the teams, like the overall teams, the defenses that they have, the skill position players that they have, when you look at the teams, it's a tough schedule, despite the fact that we have the 3rd easiest or the 4th easiest. Like, there are some good football teams any given Sunday. Any of these teams could really beat us. But then you look at the quarterbacks, and that's where my brashness, that's where my arrogance comes from. I don't know, Jeff, what are your thoughts here?
Okay, Kendall, bring that graphic back up at the quarterbacks, because you have 3, maybe 4 elite guys. You have Brady, Mahomes, definitely both elite. You have Big Ben, Matt Ryan, Fitzpatrick kind of in that second tier, maybe Tannehill after them. I think Mitch Trubisky, with a good team and a competent coaching staff around him, our backup quarterback, is better than 8. Well, let's see, 6 or 7, maybe 8 of those quarterbacks. What do you guys think? Is our backup quarterback starting on how many of those other teams?
Well, I think you have to say as of right now, he's better than the rookies, and that's 5 games, right? Because they haven't played yet. So that's 5 games right there. I could make the argument he's better than Tua. So that's 7 games right there. So if you're talking about like games and not just the guys, that's 7 games you could say that Trubisky potentially is better than the opposing quarterback.
Could come in and win if Josh Allen goes down.
Right. Yep. I agree.
And that's one of the brilliant things about getting Mitch Trubisky. And I know Mitch had his problems with Chicago, and we can blame it on him. We can blame it on the coaching staff. You can do whatever we want. But once you get into Sean McDermott's locker room, you're going to be the best version of yourself. And they say that all the time, and it's repeated by guys in their actions, and we've seen it. So I think Mitch Trubisky, if he has to come in and play, can certainly win us half of this schedule if he has to. And then you take him out and say, here's Josh Allen. He could easily win 14 games. How likely is 14 wins? It's not improbable, but I mean,
it's still hard to win 14 games, right? I mean,
it's hard to win 14 games in the NFL. I picked 13 games. When I first saw it, I picked 13. Because I think they're gonna trip up in a game that we don't anticipate them tripping up. Maybe that is Fitz early on, and the Bills learn from it. Maybe it is Indianapolis or New Orleans. I think the Bills on a head-to-head Sunday 1:00 game would very easily take New Orleans, but it's a short week on the road, and that very rarely plays well for the visiting team.
Unless you're playing Dallas.
Yeah.
We got Claude Puig coming in saying we'll be favored in all, but like to your point, we'll be favored in all, but maybe 3 games. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, maybe Tennessee. So he's right. Like the Bills are, we are punching down to most of our opponents this year, and it's all about just not making the mistakes. Josh Allen continuing to progress, and that defense making a comeback. A couple of comments in here I want to get to. One of them was from By Chance, because speaking of the defense needing to make a comeback, where was that comment from By Chance in the comment section? It was about how nothing matters if the defense doesn't get any better. Let me see if I
got it right here. I got it.
Yeah, the way our defense is, I don't think it matters what QB is playing. We just have to outscore everyone. I'm going to go back to that Harrison Phillips comment when he was on with Z-Bot. Harrison Phillips said, do you realize how difficult it was for defenses around the league last year to try to make their changes, to try to make their audibles, to try to make their shifts when the quarterback could see everything that they were doing and call an audible up until the last second. And he could clearly communicate with his wide receivers, and they were all on the same page and could do whatever they want, whenever they wanted, because there were no fans in the stands. The NFL has made it abundantly clear that there's going to be fans in the stands this year, and it's probably going to be full stadiums. So that, to me, I think signals, even if we didn't add Gregory Show or Boogie Basham, that to me signals the defense is probably going to be a little bit better. The question is, how much does that drag Josh Allen down? And if Josh Allen can stay the course where he's at, and that defense can improve just simply by having fans in the stands, that should help us as well. So I think that plays into it as well.
That's why I think those two. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, you might have Josh Allen fall back down to earth just a little bit, because that was a mega leap forward, and progress is not always linear. So you could have a game or two where Josh is just off. And, Nate Geary over at WGR was on with Rockpile Report, and he said how he thought Josh Allen was only going to get better because he had been to the AFC Championship game. He had made that progress, but then he had questions about Sugar Rush Josh Allen. And I think the fans in the stands could affect him that way, because if Harrison Phillips, opposing quarterbacks, could do whatever they wanted and communicate clearly, so could Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I hope it's not the case, if Josh Allen does take a step back and maybe has a game or two where he needs the defense to bail him out, a la 2019. We saw it all season.
I mean, quarterbacks are going to have bad games. Look at Rodgers, won the MVP last year. The first time they played Tampa in the regular season last year, he was awful. I think he threw 3 interceptions. They got blown out. Even the best of the best have bad games. And, Brady started out a little slow as well last year before he finally got it going. So, I think it's unreasonable to think that he's going to go out there and throw for 404 touchdowns every game. That's just not realistic, but he's going to have moments where he's going to learn. He's going to have, bad games, bad throws. That's fine. I think those two playoff games last year, the Colts game and the Ravens game, and even the Chiefs game, actually, honestly, all three, those two home games plus the away game with fans in the stands in a high pressure situation, although we know the result didn't pan out as we wanted to in the Chiefs game, playing in those big time games with fans, albeit less fans, I think is going to help him going into this year, even if it was just a little taste of that. If that's something that we think could have an effect on him, I think him looking back on those three playoff games when he gets into the regular season now, knowing these are regular season games, he's going to just use that as like a learning tool. And I think that statistically, look, it's going to be really hard for him to match what he did last year. So we have to be careful about that. We have to really just watch how he plays. And if we win games, that's ultimately what really matters. It is going to be hard for him to statistically match what he did last year because in many other seasons, that's an MVP caliber season. So unless you're expecting him to put up those numbers every single year, which maybe we are. I mean, maybe we are. You
Especially
could see him with an extra game. But, we just have to take it all with a grain of salt that at the end of the day, it's about the wins and not necessarily his statistics.
That's where I think the regression will come. I fully expect Josh Allen to have a similar year next year, statistically, but with one extra game, which means like you're incorporating that extra game. He's going to put up his 16 games worth of statistics this year just in 17 games. I think that's the kind of regression you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see the dude fall back on a cliff like back to what we saw in 2019 where it was like you're just trying to beg for 20 touchdowns. Like right. I don't think it's going to fall back to that point. We got Lance Nelson coming in here with a super chat saying, get in the playoffs. That's what counts. Regular season W and L won't matter, but I know it's fun to talk about. With fans in the stands this year, I think regular season means a little bit more because you want that home field advantage. So you want to, Los Angeles is going to be better. Denver's hopefully going to be better. And I say hopefully because if they push Kansas City and they bring Kansas City's record down, that gives the Buffalo Bills have a legitimate shot at the 1 seed.
AFC's good, man. Bengals, Miami, New England, they're all going to be better. Good.
We have a legitimate shot at the 1 seed if we can do our business in the regular season, because like
if we can
someone said earlier, we're only going to be betting underdogs in 3 games this year.
If we can prompt Green Bay to trade Aaron Rodgers to Denver, that would be a massive win for the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. With a straight shot at the 1 seed if Rodgers can beat Mahomes even just once, because I think Herbert could go in and steal a game against Mahomes as well.
But do you want to add Aaron Rodgers to the AFC mix as well with all the good teams that we have in the AFC
I would take an opener against Rodgers than an opener against Big Ben.
What?
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
As far as chances to win?
What?
No, not as far as our chances to win. Makes it more interesting. You get
more interesting, but I don't want Aaron Rodgers in the AFC.
You guys are talking to a TV guy. I think about viewership. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. Eyeballs, baby.
We got Matthew.
Speaking of eyeballs, Judge. Wait. Speaking of eyeballs, we got 159 people in here. Smash the like button, share it, get more people in here. We only have 1 like so far, guys. Come on, you guys can do better than that.
That's just from Facebook. Calm down.
We have 49 on YouTube.
I can't see the YouTube numbers. I see 1 Facebook like.
Well, we're only streaming on our
Bills
page.
Mafia can do way better.
Matthew Montgomery comes in and says, "You don't want to go to Arrowhead."
I don't. I sure as hell don't.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Nope. And we saw what happened in Arrowhead when it wasn't full capacity. So we probably want to avoid Arrowhead at all costs. So if that means the AFC is a little bit better, but it means the Chiefs don't get the 1 seed, maybe that's the trade-off Jeff's talking about there. And Denver beats Kansas City one more game that they wouldn't have won otherwise. We don't have to play Denver this year. Maybe.
What is
Tilt? You're coming around, buddy.
I am coming around.
One of the things we want to do this offseason, we want to make a point to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So for the remainder of the show here, we're going to get into one of our Twitter questions from today, and we're going to talk about one of our Twitter questions for today. But while we are discussing the Twitter question that came in from our very own man in the comments section, Andrew Miller. While we're discussing that, get your questions in, get your topics in, guys. Seriously, the back half of every show, the rest of the off season, it's whatever you guys want to talk about, because you guys are legitimately the third host this week, the fourth host of this show. And we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So get those questions in, get those topics in, whatever you guys want to talk about. That's how we will end it today for the last 20, 30 minutes, is we're going to talk about what you want to talk about. But before that, Andrew Miller coming in on Twitter this afternoon. He said, with the depth at receiver, we could see 7 wide receivers kept and only 3 running backs let go of Taiwan. If you kept, say, Tanner Gentry to be a gunner as a 7th receiver or someone else, I like this thought process from Andrew Miller. And I know, Dave, you agreed with him, but you disagreed on the position. What position was it that you thought the Buffalo Bills could keep 7 wide receivers in and subtract from?
I wouldn't want to take away from the running backs, because I think you do need that special teamer. And the reason I say that is because I'd want the 7th receiver to be like a Hodgins or a Stevenson. I wouldn't want to keep a Gentry just to play special teams as the 7th receiver. So if I'm keeping 7 receivers, I want them all to be contributing, at least have some kind of contribution on either offense or in the return game. So I would take one out of the tight end room. Honestly, I would probably keep Hollister, Knox, and Sweeney. I probably wouldn't, I know Gilliam plays special teams too, but I probably wouldn't keep him. And I'd try to see if maybe Spencer Brown could be your big inline blocking tight end who you just drafted from Northern Iowa to be the guy that you would use in that sort of Lee Smith type role as a pure blocking tight end. Lee Smith didn't play special teams. He's just in there to block. You're going to keep 9 offensive linemen. So if you want, and I know Pierre would want to get Spencer Brown on the field, we know he's probably the biggest Spencer Brown fan out there right now. That's a way to get him on the field. Make him your inline blocking tight end and only keep 3 true tight ends. That way you can keep a 7th receiver. I think that's what I would do. It all gets back to the philosophy of trying to keep your 53 best players. And I don't think that I do think that maybe keeping that 7th wide receiver may be more valuable than keeping that 4th tight end.
Especially if it's Isaiah Hodgins, who's a bigger guy, like a big slot guy too. Mr. Free and Clear comes in. He says, Antonio Williams, anyone? Could there be, like, because Andrew brought up Taiwan Jones. And I was going back and I was watching that, and it's twofold here. I was going back and I was watching that Dolphins game from last year. Number one, Taiwan Jones was a healthy scratch that game, which means the Bills appreciated his special teams value for starters. But Dane Jackson was the gunner along with Saran Neal. So if Levi Wallace wins that CB2 job, Dane Jackson then becomes your depth corner. Maybe you can use Dane Jackson and Saran Neal as a gunner as opposed to Taiwan Jones. Or maybe you free up Saran Neal's roster spot because he's going into a contract year. So who knows if you want to bring him back. You can also look at a guy like Rashad Wildgoose as a wild card coming in here. Fairly athletic guy with some decent wheels. So I think there are some other gunner options. And I think training camp competition has something to do with it. Like if some of these guys in preseason can prove to the Buffalo Bills that they can feel safe and secure with them gunning on special teams, I think you could see Taiwan Jones get clipped and a guy like Antonio Williams stay, or a 7th wide receiver or something of that nature. So just because we're slightly disagreeing with Andrew here that the running back room is what gets clipped, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And also watching that Miami game got me pumped up for Antonio Williams all over again. So
do we know if COVID rules are still going to apply for this season? Like you get to dress an extra offensive lineman. Is that TBD?
I believe the extra offensive lineman is actually an actual rule change. I don't think that was COVID related, but they are having 16-man practice squads this year. So my guess is the rules that applied last year are going to once again apply this year as well. I know Kendall had a take to Andrew's comment. So I'm going to bring Kendall in here right now, and Kendall can share his thoughts on where he thinks a player can be subtracted in order to fit in a 7th wide receiver.
Yeah, so I saw the comment from Andrew today, and I totally agree. Like, I think we can all agree that 7 wide receivers is something we'd all be interested in. It's more about the opportunity cost, what position we have to get rid of in order to add that 7th guy. And I think linebacker is a sneaky play. I think Rico actually talked about it on Tuesday because the Bills play a lot of nickel, and we usually only have 2 linebackers on the field at once. So, we might not need to roster 6 linebackers like we did last year. We might roster 5 and then keep that extra one on the practice squad, or maybe 2 extra ones on the practice squad. But either way, I think linebacker could be the position that we end up, chopping off that back end to allow, a returner with receiver ability like Stevenson to make the roster, or, let Hodgins crack a spot on the roster. I think that's a possibility as well. But great question, Andrew. I mean, it sparks a lot of roster debate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people asking questions about the roster sizes. Is it 53, 55? I believe it's the same rules as last year. You have an active 53-man roster, and then you can elevate 2 guys from the practice squad for that week's games, I believe is how it went last year. And then they go automatically revert back to the practice squad. So it's still, I believe it's still a true 53-man active roster. So when you go to cut down day and you actually cut guys, now that's going to be offset somewhat by being able to put a ton of guys on the practice squad. So, the 54th and 55th guy, it doesn't really matter if you're like the 55th guy or if you're like the 65th guy this year. So, Jake Hangen says AJ Epenesa breakout season with all the depth that we gained on the line. I mean, this is what we thought, not necessarily about Epenesa, but we thought the D-line was in prime position last year to kind of break out, and they've kind of flopped. So I'd like to see some of the younger guys step up. Epenesa is going to have a chance this year, right? I mean, Bills went out and drafted 2 edge rushers, but, Addison, Hughes, like there's a need for Epenesa to step up sooner rather than later, and I think he's going to get a chance this year. I mean, a lot of people are saying he could potentially lead the team in sacks this year, and I know that I probably wouldn't go that far. I'd love to see it, but I kind of do have high hopes for Epenesa this year. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Jeff, what do you think?
He's got to take that step forward. I mean, yes, he's only going into year 2, and we've said it before. We watched this coaching staff give patience to guys when they want to develop. They did it primarily with Josh Allen. We're seeing it with Dawson Knox, Ed Oliver. Even this coaching staff has a lot of patience, but they do need to see progress, and that's what they're going to demand out of AJ Epenesa, is to have him progress into what they want him to be. Because last year, despite all of what was going on outside with COVID and everything, he still shed a bunch of weight to be more versatile, and he got used to playing at that weight. Let's see what he comes in and what he can do training camp, preseason, if he is going to adjust to playing at that new weight, and then get progress and see if he can do what they're asking him to, which was correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like they're asking him to kind of fill into that Lorenzo Alexander role.
I wouldn't go that far, because I don't think they ever want him to stand up. I think they still want to put his hands on the ground.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
I think they just didn't want him to be 280. And then I think he shed too much. And I think now, like you saw towards the end of the year, as we got late into the season, as we got into the playoffs, I think he found the weight that they want him at, that 265 to 270 pound range. I think that AJ Epenesa is going to have a significantly better season next year. I don't know if he's going to lead the team in sacks, and here's why. Whether we like it or not, this is a football team that's going to be rotating their edges a lot. And I think what you're going to see is AJ Epenesa at right end and Boogie Basham at left end on those early downs. So it's going to be Epenesa and Boogie. And then once we get to the passing downs, the obvious passing situations, the third down situations, that's where Addison and Hughes are going to come in. You're going to see Gregory Rousseau coming in. So I think those are the 3 guys you're going to see in the situations where you pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. I think it's going to be up to guys like AJ Epenesa and Boogie Basham to do some of the dirty work on the early downs. And that's why I just don't know if you're going to see a statistical climb from AJ Epenesa. I mean, maybe you do, just because he gets more snaps, but I don't think he's going to be in the situation to pile up the stats like a Jerry Hughes, like a Mario Addison, like a Gregory Rousseau.
I like this comment from Matthew Montgomery, though. I think with Star back, Oliver will shine. That is a great comment. And I think that's something to definitely keep an eye on, because Star's going to affect the run game. That's going to open up holes for Ed Oliver to get into, which is what they wanted last year before Starr opted out.
And we got a great question here from AK Cash. Speaking of lines, he says, what is your guys' prediction on the Bills starting offensive line? Dave, let's start with you, left to right. How do you think it's going to shake out?
I think my heart wants Dawkins, Ford, Morse, Feliciano, Williams, but I think my head saying
Continuity.
my head saying it might be Dawkins, Lamp, Morse, Feliciano, Williams. That's kind
Jeff,
of
what
my
do you
prediction.
think?
Man, there's a lot of speculation that Spencer Brown could be starting not too far in. If
Watch Pierre's
either-
video, he makes a nice case for it.
if either of the tackles go down, he might Wally Pip them right to the bench. Especially with Darrell Williams in his contract. If you could pay a rookie to get just as good of production, that's a tough choice for the coaching staff. Now, I think you start the season with last year's starters. I absolutely think that's the case while you bring along the rookies and the additions, just for that continuity, for something that Josh Allen knows. Now, I think this year is critical for Cody Ford because we've seen him start at right tackle, then they moved him into right guard, and then last year it was left guard before he got hurt, and he's got to find a home and anchor it and be the best anyone can be at that position. Otherwise, this coaching staff might move on from Cody Ford, which would be disappointing because Brandon Beane went up to get him specifically in the draft. He wanted Ford specifically. So if you're Cody Ford, you got a chip on your shoulder watching them draft offensive linemen this year. Yeah, I know they drafted tackles, but
this goes one of two ways.
You got to see it.
He uses it as motivation and he becomes the player we want him to be, or he sees it as, man, fuck this team, fuck this whole thing. I'm not going to try my best. And I'm not saying that's the type of guy he is, but I'm saying it could go one of two ways. Like we saw when he tweeted right after we made the signings, like his eyes are on this. Like he knows what they're doing. Like he sees that they're bringing in these guys. He sees that they brought in Forrest Lamp. He sees that they brought Butker back. They have Bates on the roster. They drafted Jack Anderson. Like this, he's not blind to this. So like he's got to come in with that gritty attitude, but also a positive attitude as well. Like he can't get down on himself, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. He needs to be like fully confident in what he can do. And talk himself up a little bit if the coaching staff is going to do the same. So that's the guy I think we all want to be the stalwart left guard on this team. It's just a matter of will he actually deliver?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think Cody Ford is one of two things. He's either starting left guard this season or maybe right guard and they kick Feliciano left guard. He's either a starting guard for this football team next season or he's off the roster. Whether it's him being cut or being traded. One of the two. I think the Buffalo Bills would like to trade him. The Bills have literally traded like Lee Smith and Russell Bodine, so I'm not going to put it past Brandon Beane to get something for Cody Ford. But at the end of the day, a lot of times when people know you're going to cut someone, they're not willing to offer you much. But Brandon Beane has shown a lot of wizardry before. So yes, probably more likely traded than cut, but either cut or traded. He's either a starter or he's not on this roster because to me, he's not a backup.
There's plenty of terrible offensive linemen on rosters in the NFL. Someone would probably take a shot on.
Yeah, you got Forrest Lamp with left tackle, left guard versatility, center versatility. You got Jack Anderson with three position versatility. You got like Butker with three position versatility. There are so many guys with position flex. There's just no point in Cody Ford, who shows he can't be flexible because you got to try to master him in one spot. So yeah, for me, left to right, I'm going to say Cody Ford accepts the challenge. Left to right, I'm going Dawkins, Ford, Morse, Feliciano, and Darrell Williams. So the same, what probably would have been the starting five last year. Thomas Burke coming in saying, please explain. Vegas line of the Bills win total is 10.5. Why? 11 wins seems like a lock with the schedule and opposing quarterbacks, right? I think Vegas's number one goal is to get you to bet. So if you look at this, Thomas, what are you going to do? You're going to go and you're going to give Vegas some money. So I don't see it as a sign of disrespect. I think it's Vegas just trying to get people to bet. I don't know. Do you guys have any?
And one of the things is the house will determine it based on what's the betting action as well. So as more money comes in on the over for 11, 12, 13 games, it'll imbalance, and then they'll have to move the line up, and you'll see more bets come in on the under. So Vegas is always trying to keep the bets even, and then that's what's trying to attract you to bet. So it's not surprising to me that they would have started at 10, 10.5, because then you're going to get heavy over action, especially from Bills Mafia. And then they'll pull the line up to match the action, and then that'll attract more action to even it out. So it's a lot like the stock market and what people are willing to pay on that line. It's not necessarily, any one casino or sports book saying, oh, we think the Bills suck here, we only think they're going to win 10 games. It's all about getting people to bet.
And it's May, so they're trying, like, if they had put the win total at like 11.5 or like, let's just say 12.5, how many people are going to be like, that looks like something I want to put some money on, because like they wouldn't know what to do, to Jeff's point. So it's just it's a long game. It's a long game for them, right? It's May. By the time September comes around, they'll have money on both sides of that thing. So it'll probably be up to 12.5. I wouldn't be surprised come September.
We got Liam Spafford coming in saying, has there been any updates on cornerback Nelson besides the tweet that he said they were interested? No, the Buffalo Bills are one of a lot of teams. So my guess is Nelson is a guy who probably won't sign until closer to training camp. And my guess is if there are, I believe Field Yates said 14 teams interested in, the Buffalo Bills are going to have to rework some deals and free up some cap space, because they ain't going to get it done with $3 million. $3
million right now. Yeah. Right. Yep.
To me, I'd take $3 million.
To me, no, that's their cap space right now.
Their cap space.
I know. I know, but I'd still take it.
I mean, I'll take $500K to be on the roster for one day.
To me, there are three free agents that stick out like a sore thumb to me right now. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on these three guys. Number one is Steve Nelson. I'm not in on the Richard Sherman thing. I don't want I take it back because he had a really good 2019. I'm just really not interested in Richard Sherman at this point. My mind can be changed. But Steve Nelson, Jarrell Casey, and Jesse James, the tight end, former Pittsburgh Steeler, former Detroit Lion. Those are the three free agents that I think make the most sense for the Buffalo Bills right now. Kendall, I'll start with you. Those three guys, do you have interest in any of those three guys? And if so, and if not, are there any other free agents? Because Bobby's coming in saying, hey, Richard Sherman's better than Nelson.
I think I would prefer Sherman to Nelson, but either way, if you're giving me even swapping Sherman for Nelson in those three players in that scenario, I think I would still pick Jarrell Casey. I still want to fortify this defensive line. I think Eric was actually talking about it in our BF chat. He was talking about how Starr has a very increased chance to get injured this year because he's not in football shape. He could be very much in shape, but there's nothing like actually practicing with your teammates. There's nothing that's going to simulate that kind of, muscle repetition, muscle usage. He has an increased chance to get injured this year. It's not a guarantee, but there's a chance. So, I mean, we only have 5 defensive tackles on this roster right now. I'm pretty sure we rostered 5 last year. So it'd be nice to add some competition to that position group. So sign me up for Jarrell Casey. I think he's, we could find a deal for him less than $3 million.
Jeff, any free agents out there that still interest you?
I had to look at the list, and honestly, it's slim pickings at this point. If you want to talk about the term camp bodies, I know a lot of coaches hate that terminology, because if you bring somebody to camp, you want them to be actively trying to make the roster. You're giving them a chance to make the roster. They're not just camp bodies. If you're talking about what we need, it's going to be a cornerback, and I think the best cornerback would be Steven Nelson. I don't think we need tight end. What we have Knox, Hollister, Gilliam, Becker, Sweeney at tight end. I really think Knox and Hollister are going to get a majority of the playing time. Do we need an upgrade? If we didn't have the wide receiver room that we did, I would say maybe, you want a really good pass catching tight end, but I don't think we need that. I think we would have to go cornerback. That would be my preferred direction if we got a couple of free agents. Bring in the competition for Dane Jackson and for Levi Wallace and see if they can still win out that job for CB2.
So, Money, any free agents that you have your eye on?
I kind of would be more on the side of Bobby here. I'd almost rather have Richard Sherman than Nelson. I think from a locker room perspective, to take guys like Jackson and Wallace and Wild Goose and Elijah Griffin under his wing, and like for those guys to have someone like that to look up to. Not that Trey isn't that guy, but like, you know, Trey's got a lot on his shoulders, right? He's the number one corner. He's looking over and he's saying like, look, maybe we don't have a legitimate number two corner on this team. We have a decent number two corner somewhere on this team, whether it's Jackson or Wallace, but like, I think bringing in Richard Sherman also takes a little pressure off of Trey White in a way. So I don't think it's just about like, you know, finding a guy who we think maybe is decent, which Nelson is and Sherman is as well. But I think Sherman he adds something to me more than Nelson does when it comes to the locker room from a culture standpoint. And look, I was not a Richard Sherman fan for years, but over the last several years, I've really come around to him. I really think that he will bring an element of teaching to his, to the team that he goes to. And I'll throw Casey into the mix as well, but I would also throw Geno Atkins into the mix as well at defensive tackle. The thing I will say is, like, Kendall and I were watching Rico's show the other night, and we were finding it, like, it was almost impossible to figure out who, like, the 9 defensive linemen were going to be that were going to make. That might have been the hardest one. So you add in like an Atkins or a Casey, then it's like, okay, well then for sure, like someone like Vernon Butler is gone or Harrison Phillips is gone, right? Like they would have to be. So maybe Bean's playing the long game here. Maybe he wants to see, these guys on the field and in practice a little bit first. But the problem you run into there is, like, some of these guys are probably going to get signed before then, and you're running that risk. But again, we have so many guys on that defensive line that's probably why we haven't seen a signing yet. So for me, it'd be Atkins, Casey, and I would take Sherman over Nelson at this point.
We got a comment in the comment section here from Y. He says, are there any big fatties out there? Now, the Buffalo Bills have met with apparently 2 bigger defensive tackles over the past couple of days. Now, apparently Buffalo is hesitating to make too many signings because they're not sure if they're going to be allowed to bring 80 people to training camp or 90 people to training camp. So they don't want to sign anyone right now that they're just going to have to cut. Apparently that last year it was a big deal, giving signing bonuses to people that they end up having to cut. So the 2 players were Eli Anku, 6'3", 325-pound nose tackle, played at UCLA, has been with the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans, as well as, and I got it here, going to pull up Sal Capaccio's tweet, Eddie Vanderdoes, 6'3", 315-pound defensive tackle, nose tackle, who played for the Raiders and the Texans. So the Bills have had a couple of big fatties into visit, but they haven't pulled the trigger and signed any. But those are very much, camp bodies, I would say. Can I throw out a random statement that this is just something that I have been thinking about the last couple of days? I mentioned a couple of days ago, just to make myself feel better. I decided to rewatch the Miami Dolphins Week 17 beatdown, and I felt a lot better after I was done watching it. But
therapeutic, yeah.
One of the things. What you got? What you guys on the?
Well, I was gonna say I watched the New England Patriots game in New England, game. Foxborough, and OMFG Taiwan needs to catch that ball. Go ahead.
There was a player who was active for the first time in his NFL career that game, that Miami Dolphins Buffalo Bills game. It's not the player you're thinking of. It's not Antonio Williams. I think this year's Delshon Phillips, this year's player who could make the roster that nobody expects, Nate Becker, tight end. If you're looking for a number 3 tight end and Tommy Sweeney comes back and he's not it, Nate Becker, I was watching on those Antonio Williams runs, Nate Becker was getting after it in 12 personnel and blocking. When he had a chance to go out and run routes, he was never targeted, but he had a nice little spring off the line of scrimmage getting into his routes. Is he a world beater tight end? Is he the next Travis Kelce? Hell no. Hell no. As By Chance says, Hell no.
He can compete with Sweeney. That's
He could
fine.
compete
But as
with
a
Sweeney.
number-
I don't want to see both of them on the team.
As a number 3 tight end, I think Nate Becker
Yeah, that's fine.
shot.
No,
I
it's
don't
not
want to see
outlandish.
both.
It's not
I
outlandish.
don't. I just don't want to see both of them on the team.
Yeah, I don't
I'd
wanna
rather
see it
see. I'd rather see 3 tight ends, and if he makes it over Sweeney, great. And if they do keep 4 tight ends, then I mean that means if they keep 5 tight ends, I guess I will shit my pants.
Judge,
that
you
would be
know,
the worst.
Judge, you know who else played really well in that Dolphins game? Andre Smith, and we just signed him to a 2-year deal. I think he's going to be great. Honestly, I think he could potentially. I don't think it's likely because of the restructure to Medikevich, but he could, push Medikevich for that linebacker special teams role.
Yeah. I mean, and John says, I can't see 4 tight ends. That depends on how you classify Reggie Gilliam, and that depends on how the Buffalo Bills want to go about it. If the Buffalo Bills, like we just had this conversation earlier, want to go 7 wide receivers, boom. Like tight end seems to be to me the easiest position to lob somebody off. Because you got Spencer Brown, you got Tommy Doyle who can inline block. You have your 2, guys in Hollister and Knox. And then you have Gilliam who can play the fullback role and can also play the tight end role in some special teams. So, but listen, Nate Becker, let's not sleep on Nate Becker, folks. Everyone's like, Nate Becker, who? He's better than Tim Tebow.
Never really liked that show on CBS though. Becker
with Ted Danson. You didn't like it?
never really was a fan.
It was in a really tough line. It was like in a good lineup too, because it was like Raymond and King of Queens. I mean, good lineup on Monday Night CBS. Anyway,
something Kendall probably has no idea what we're talking about.
Were you like?
Does Kendall even know who Ted Danson is?
Come on.
I can picture Dave sitting in his college dorm room drinking some Metamucil, watching Everybody Loves Raymond Becker.
First of all, Everybody Loves Raymond was on like way before I was in college. Okay, so I'm not that old.
I know.
When did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school. When did I? 03 high school.
Okay.
07 college. Yeah.
Kendall, when did you graduate high school?
2015. Sorry, you asked. I had to.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's only 10 years difference, but still.
I just want to put this one up here from Chris. He's been putting it in here a lot, and I think it's a good one for us to do.
Okay.
Which undrafted free agent has the best chance of making this roster? That's a great question. So let's quickly review the undrafted free agents because they're already slipping my mind here. We have
Elijah Griffin, Quentin Morris,
Tuatelli,
Nick McLeod,
Trey Walker, the receiver,
Tariq Thompson.
I'm gonna go with Tariq Thompson.
I would say it's either Tariq Thompson or Elijah Griffin, probably just because the numbers in the defensive backfield would indicate that that's the best chance and best path for someone making the team. And look, Quentin Morris isn't it for me, man. I'm sorry. Like I like him. I think he's fine, but
he's too much like Dawson Knox and Jacob Hollister to be in the room. Like he doesn't offer you inline blocking skills, which is what I think you want from TE3. If Quentin Morris makes the team, it's because he outplayed Dawson Knox or Jacob Hollister. I don't think it's because he's TE3.
Agreed.
Here's a crazy comment here from Jason Sugg. I like this. What about Tommy Doyle or Spencer Brown as a fullback on the goal line?
Yes, sir. And then run with Josh Allen naked bootleg.
Giving it to Tommy Doyle.
Yeah, fullback dive.
I would have full confidence in handing it to Tommy Doyle.
See?
Tommy O'Doyle rules. All right, Matthew Montgomery coming in saying, is it a make or break year for Dawson Knox? And to me, it's hell yes. If he doesn't
him and Ford both.
I think it's put up or shut up for both of these guys.
to say it's him and Ford both, I think Ford is in a much smaller boat. I think he is much smaller.
No, I agree. He's a shorter leash.
I think Dawson Knox is a guy who has a Dawson Knox jersey and likes to show it off when he scores touchdowns. Yes, this is an absolute make or break year for him. But he has a longer leash than Cody Ford.
There's less pressure on Knox too. Let's be realistic. The tight end position for the Bills in a historic passing offense for them last year, where Josh Allen threw the ball almost 600 times. I think he had 572 passing attempts last year. The tight ends only caught 40 balls last year. Okay. So for all these people who want this elite tight end, and I get it, like you would have to change your offensive philosophy to make that a position of volume, right? As far as on the receiving end.
Is something I thought at the beginning of the offseason before we didn't address tight end. Like I thought we were going to add 2 tight ends. Like I thought we were going to be all about the tight end. I thought you would see them subtract John Brown and add 2 tight ends. That was my big thing going into free agency. Like I was pinpointing a bunch of different tight ends that the Buffalo Bills could target, because I thought that the Buffalo Bills would see what Kansas City or what Tampa Bay did to Kansas City in that Super Bowl. That 12 personnel, they ran it down their throats. They couldn't stop it, the play action. And I thought maybe the Buffalo Bills, in an effort to fix their running game, might go for some more 12 personnel. But it appears clear as day to me now, which is Jacob Hollister and Quentin Morris as their only additions to the room.
Right.
The Buffalo Bills are going to be doubling down on this 10 personnel passing attack, and it's going to be up to the offensive lineman and Bobby Johnson to fix whatever it is schematically up front to get these running backs some space if we want to improve the running game.
They clearly like running against lighter boxes. Clearly.
It's not going to come with extra blockers.
Well, and I will say this. The pressure, there's more pressure on Ford, obviously, because he's expected to be a starting offensive lineman on a unit that really needs better play from the guards.
And was traded up to go grab.
Right. Well, we did trade up to get Knox, too. There's less pressure on Knox because, one, he's not like the focal point of the offense to begin with. The reason why Knox gets magnified is because he has so few plays that go to him, and it's usually one extreme or the other with him. It's either he makes this terrible like drop or he makes this amazing play. And so that's why like everything gets magnified with him one way or the other, because there's a smaller sample size. And I'm not saying that Ford's sample size is big, but he's going to be in on every play blocking if he's healthy. So Jeff's right. Knox has a longer leash. I think that maybe it was unfair for me to lump the 2 of them together, but it is a big year for both of them, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, because Pierre says, maybe Josh didn't didn't trust the tight ends, because would you trust a target with a tight end with a 20% drop rate?
But then where are the targets coming away from then is my question.
Yeah.
Are they coming away from Gabriel Davis? Are they coming away from newly acquired Emmanuel Sanders? They're not coming away from Diggs. He's going to get 130 targets or more. They're not coming away from Beasley. We saw in stretches last year where Beasley didn't get targeted, and we were all yelling at the TV to throw it to Beasley more. And sure enough, when they did, it worked. So like, that's my question, is where are the targets coming away from? Because I don't think all of a sudden you're going to throw the ball 650 times. Like your maximum probably is you're throwing the ball 600 times. And we did that last year.
For those worried about Knox in the tight end room, I would actually be more worried about the running back production.
I was going to bring it there.
Just because I think Moss is going into his second year. Singletary's going into his third year. I want to see what these two do more so than tight end position. Just because we were not good enough on the run last year. And yes, the tight ends dropped some balls, and it, like Dave said, it got magnified with Knox dropping his few sample size passes that he got. But we were not good enough on the run. We were not efficient enough on the run. We don't need a power, super huge running game. We just need an efficient running game when it's called upon, and we weren't that last year. So I'm far more concerned with Singletary and Moss. And I think Moss might have a breakout year. Just gut feeling, having been injured.
Jeff, you think that Zach Moss is going to have a big year, but have you seen the newest Bills running back, Drank Sore? Have you seen him? You seen the Bills' new running back?
I am completely lost on what Drank Sore.
Drank Sore? You have no idea who Drank Sore is?
No.
Devin Singletary, sir, has gotten swole. He looks like a mini Frank Gore.
And see, I'm always listening. I don't get to watch. I don't get to watch everything. I listen to his podcast with Ty Dunn over at Go Long TD. I listen to that. I'm always doing stuff here at work where I can listen. I rarely have a chance with a 5-year-old daughter who is rambunctious. Yeah, I don't want shirtless men on Twitter. I mean, maybe for Brandon Bean, but I mean,
Twitter was made for.
Can I address True to Heart's comment really quick? I mean, he said, how do we know there's more pressure on Ford? I don't know. Like, inside the building, we really don't. I'm saying I think the fans generally are putting more pressure on Ford, and media, Like at least Bills content creators and media seem to be putting more pressure on Ford. So yeah, do you have the picture?
No, can you pull it up?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
But while we're doing, there's a couple of good comments here. Nick Lowe coming in saying they like using Gabe Davis in that quasi tight end role. That's another reason why I really want Isaiah Hodgins to make the roster this year, even if that means carrying 7 tight ends. I'd love a second one. And Richard Rush.
7 tight ends.
I mean, look at this. Oh, sorry, receivers. But Richard Rush, Judge, with winners, we don't have to, without winners, we don't have to worry. There's nowhere to go but up without Brian Winters, and that is true. That is true. Dave Kane coming in saying year 3 Singletary about to ball out. Motor is Jack now. Like last week, someone said he was small. Yeah, he ain't small. He's pretty swole.
No.
Yeah, he's about to get one of those random.
Will he be able to keep that shiftiness? Will he be able to make defenders miss the same? He's just planning on going.
Yeah. This is the point. Yeah, if you add that kind of muscle mass, are you going to move the same way? And
well, according to his trainer, he's running faster now. So
I'd love it.
And he looks like a fast swole. He doesn't look like a slow swole.
But see, Brandon Beane drafted Singletary to miss defenders, to make defenders miss. He didn't draft him to go 60 yards to the house. He drafted him to make defenders miss, move the chains. That's what we need our running game to do with Brian Daboll. We don't need huge chunk plays out of the running game. That's not Daboll's system. We just need to be better at what we were trying to do last year.
Yeah, he's a lean swole. He's a lean swole, says Bobby. Look at this. Look at that man. Zoom in on those pecs.
Looks like Aaron Donald.
I'm not zooming in on that. you don't need to zoom in.
I want to see
every line is well defined enough. You don't.
I want to see the drips of sweat.
Dave, does the male form make you blush? Is that what it is?
I mean, that's a good looking dude right there. I'm not afraid to admit it. I mean, that dude, like, if you didn't know that he was like 5'8" or whatever he is, like, you'd be like, holy shit, like, how big is this guy? And then you realize, like, I mean, his center of gravity, he increased his center of gravity. That's the problem.
Oh my God.
Yeah, his mass is so much up here now.
But now here's the thing, though. Like, his biceps are so jacked. Like, he already has a fumbling issue. Like, his bicep is so jacked. Will the ball just squeeze out of his arms when he's running with it? Is he gonna have to tiki barber?
You want to talk about center of gravity? As someone who's 6'4" and top heavy, trust me, those are issues. Being top heavy.
Yeah, I want to see the drips of sweat here. Come on now.
I mean, can I zoom in? I can zoom in. I'll zoom in. I'll zoom in. Don't worry. All right, let's see.
Let's see how close we can get.
It's not letting me zoom.
Oh, this is unfortunate.
It keeps zooming back out.
Yeah, it keeps zooming.
What a shame.
That's enough.
I'm just gonna make Devin Singletary's pecs my profile picture on Twitter. So if you guys want to see a nice, if you guys want to see a nice zoomed in,
let's get your tattoo to be your profile picture.
Getting there.
Where's Daniel Gowries? He's got the Captain America avatar, the super soldier serum there for Singletary. It's appropriate. He injected something.
And then a couple of people are checking me, so thank you to Bills Mafia STF and from Truth to Hearts for both saying his fumble rate isn't as bad. It just felt like it. So
yeah.
How about his drop rate in AFC Championship?
Come on now.
Hey, but seriously, in 2021, that could be where Knox loses his target share. He could lose some target share to the running backs.
Josh doesn't throw to running backs, man.
He doesn't, but boy, would it would make our offense so much better.
We say that every year, though, and he never does.
Down sometimes.
I'm really interested to see Matt Breida in the preseason.
Yeah,
like I'm really interested to see like some of the ways that they can use Matt Breida. Every single one of these running backs, from Zach Moss coming back from injury, going into year 2, Devin Singletary being a lean swole, to Matt Breida and that speed, to Christian Wade having like 2 years of development under his belt, and Antonio Williams having did what he did last year. Like, their running backs is going to be legitimately exciting to watch, especially trying to see which one of these interior offensive linemen and seeing these offensive tackles like Spencer Brown and Tommy Doyle are going to get a heck of a lot of run in the preseason. You're going to see Cody Ford and Ike Butker and Ryan Bates and Jack Anderson get a ton of run in the preseason, and you're going to see these running backs get a ton of run. So, like, honestly, as much as I can't wait for the regular season, this roster is so freaking loaded. This preseason is gonna be a hell of a lot of fun.
I mean, Bobby does have a point here. Motor did have the third most receptions on the team last year, which was 38. So he did have 38 catches.
He could take some from Knox. It could happen.
It could happen.
Judge, if you're looking forward to the preseason, I can't wait for Blake Bortles to come in with Green Bay.
Let's get back to
Blake
Chris's
Bortles
comment
versus
after
Jake
you guys
Fromm.
are done. Yeah,
I got a video on Blake Bortles to send you because there was a great video that I found on Twitter of Blake Bortles. I'll send it to you. I will send it to you, Jeff. Man is a legend.
Here we go.
You know what? I could care less. I know a few Jacksonville fans who were in love with him once upon a time, but yeah, Jake Fromm. I heard Kendall say Jake Fromm. Is that trade bait, guys? That's got to be. I think you could get John Elway to pony up a 5th or 6th round pick for Jake Fromm.
He could be the answer to this question too.
Thinking. Yeah, it is. I think 5th is probably wishful thinking because he literally hasn't done anything and was a 5th round draft pick. But it's
Elway. It's Elway.
Yeah, for a quarterback too.
That's a good point.
Will overpay.
He's not the GM anymore.
It's Patton is now.
Yeah,
he's still president.
Yeah,
he's still president of the club.
I get the
And
argument.
if Elway loves himself some quarterbacks.
Yeah.
To me, it's F.A. Obata. I think F.A. Obata is a guy that I thought was a lock to make this football team, and then we went and drafted Gregory Rousseau and Carlos Basham. So if F.A. Obata does not make this roster, I think he gets picked up in an instant with his 5.5 sacks last year and just his physical attributes and the fact that he started playing football at 20 and he's now 27, so he's just clicking into year 8 now. And I think F.A. Obata is another guy who could be trade bait. So F.A. Obata to me is the number one guy. If he gets cut, I think he could get claimed by another team. And also our interior offensive lineman, whether it's Forrest Lamp or Cody Ford, whoever it is that doesn't make the cut there, Ryan Bates. If Ryan Bates doesn't make the cut on the interior of the offensive line, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to get some nibbles as well and struggle to find.
I think you could put Duke Williams out on the open market and see what you can get for him.
I think the fact of the matter is
trolling his own show.
Over 60 to 75% of the players that the Bills cut and don't make their practice squad will end up on other teams because we finally have a good roster. There's not one player that answers Chris's question because this roster is so deep now. If we have to cut anyone, they're probably going to end up on another 53-man roster.
Bam Johnson.
Bam is young enough potential. He's making a roster immediately.
He was balling out on special teams last year. I can't see the Bills getting rid of him.
I agree. I think it's going to be tough.
The question will be, they've historically only kept 5 defensive ends. So they will have to break the mold. Just like we said with 7 receivers, they've historically only kept 6. With linebackers, they've historically kept 6, right? So they will have to break the mold somewhere in their roster construction to get some of these guys to stick on the team. So to me, if I'm looking at it from a numbers game standpoint and they only keep 5 defensive ends, whoever that 6th or even 7th defensive end, probably it's Obata or, God forbid, it could be Addison, right? Someone in that group is likely to get picked up by another team.
I'm currently making Devin Singletary's pecs my Twitter profile.
He's doing the important things. All right, let's see what other questions we got while you're doing that.
Important things.
Yeah, this is true. I got the Girl Dad hoodie on tonight. I'm with Jeff now in the club.
How old is she?
She turned 3 months old on the 6th, and she's sleeping right now. So it's going.
You should be sleeping right now.
My wife is back at work, and I'm daddy daycare now for the next 4 or 5 weeks until I go back to work. So it has been a change for me, I will say. Do I look tired? Because I am tired.
That's your first mistake. Let me tell you. When she sleeps, you need to sleep. So if you just want to hop off, that's fine too. We understand. But just they're cute now. Just wait until they start talking back with an attitude. It's a lot of fun.
That guy with the blinking meme where he's like, that's my face right now. All right. Yeah. What else we got here?
Most carries at running back this year. Most carries.
Oh, okay.
All right. That's something there, Judge.
Singletary.
Something.
I'm going with Moss. I'm a Moss stan. I love
Singletary. After seeing those texts, how can you not go Singletary?
I'm sorry.
He just put the text on the screen.
Last year going into the draft, I predicted Moss.
Put
to
him
the
up again,
Bills
Steve.
in the
Put him up
third
again.
round. So now I just have to stand for Moss. But
Well, Steve is the biggest Moss fan. I got this guy a Utah golf polo because we made a bet last year during the draft that I bet we wouldn't draft anyone from Utah. He bet we would. In that, you're going to go against that?
I am.
You bet against these abs? No, bet against these abs.
I mean, I think it's going to be fairly even split. I think Singletary gets a slight edge.
Truth to hearts coming in. We shouldn't expect Bean to have a set in stone number for each position. I think he takes a best player approach with the roster.
But he doesn't. But they don't with the roster.
The cuts ultimately will come to the coaching staff, I believe.
That's one thing they have been consistent with. Yeah.
is that McDermott will defer to his coordinators on who they ultimately end up with.
That's a good point by John Herring.
Already looks like that.
He doesn't need to take pictures because he already looks like that. Okay, fair enough. Funny. That's a good point. Point.
Thank you for backing me up, John.
Do we let Tyler Bass loose this year? Do we let him just rip it? Do we let him go all Sebastian Janikowski?
Didn't he have like a 57, a 58, a 58 in like one game or something last year?
You know what?
I want a Bass jersey. I want a Bass jersey. I'll put that out there.
Getting Matt Hawk might take away from those opportunities because we have someone that can actually coffin corner this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love if, we could give Bass those historic opportunities.
I think that's why you saw Buffalo go for it on fourth down.
Yeah, so much.
Just outside of the 40 is because they didn't trust in Boho's ability to coffin corner it. So they I think that they were thinking if we kind of punt it from here, it's just going to be a touchback. Mm-hmm. But I would still love to see the coaching staff. If you're above your own 40, just go for it.
You can still use the promo code Fanatics, by the way.
This is an easy one. Quarterback, although it doesn't scare me as much as it used to because we have Trubisky now. I will say position, and it would have been tackles maybe, but now we have Brown and Doyle. I will say right now, if there's a serious injury to CB1, that's an issue. That's an issue.
Linebacker as well, in my opinion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to say linebacker.
I like our linebacker depth, but the drop off is very significant.
Mm-hmm. Linebacker.
The drop off from Edmonds and Milano to Klein. Yeah. There was one point at the season, it was in the Seattle game, where AJ Klein, his best play of the year, he didn't even see it because Russell Wilson threw the ball into the back of his head down the sideline. Mm-hmm. And then from that point on, AJ Klein actually came around and started getting into the system.
I don't want to see
in feeling.
We have 1-1 pack.
I wouldn't be mad if we traded Klein. It'd be tough to do, though.
We went without Star last year. It doesn't scare me, honestly, because it's whatever. I mean, he's going to help, but like if CB1 or wide receiver 1 goes down, that's where I start getting nervous.
Yeah.
I think safety as well, just because like there's not a lot of depth.
I agree with that.
It's weird. I like the depth in our secondary, but I don't like their depth as starters. I like them in their like niche role position. I don't want them starting. Philium times 10 comes in and says, what are the odds of a late career Jerry Hughes Pro Bowl season? Bolstered D-line D-end could help. Yeah, I think someone has already mentioned this. Someone legitimate has already mentioned the fact that Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison are going to get more rest this year. It might have been Brandon Beane in his post-draft presser. Like, these guys are going to get more rest this year, which means they're going to be in more pin your ear back situations. They're going to be rested, ready to go, put in more desirable situations. So I think Jerry Hughes could clean up in the sack department this year. Him and Mario Addison both.
Here's a question on Jerry Hughes. Yeah, I got a question on Jerry Hughes for you guys. Is Jerry Hughes a Wall of Famer for Buffalo Bills? Is he a Wall of Famer?
No, I don't think so.
He'd have to do something special this year.
He's been here. He's going into his 10th season, 10 years with the Buffalo Bills, 9 years maybe. Is he a Wall of Famer?
I'll say right
says
now.
No, Judge.
I'll say no.
Judge.
I say no. Not unless Aaron Schobel gets in it before him.
Yeah, I was going to say Kyle Williams has to get up there before him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
eventually down the road.
Already up there.
I mean, they're pretty tight with those Wall of Fame thing. Yeah. I mean, they don't.
Yeah, they don't just hand them out.
I mean, how long did it take for even like Phil Hansen to get? I mean, it took a while for like good players to get up there. I mean, if Schobel's not up there, if Kyle Williams is up there, I don't see how you put Jerry Hughes up there.
Great point from
Got
Chris Jenke
51
too.
sacks.
He said he thinks that Tyrell Adams is a capable starter at linebacker, which is true. He has started. I would question his ability to drop back in coverage, but yeah, he's definitely capable. So he says the correct answer there is safety. Yeah, Hyder Porter go down. You're looking
Which
at
isn't a
Quan
bad
Johnson,
point.
but
No, that's a good point.
sleeping on DeMar Hamlin.
Don't sleep
Looking
on
good
him.
in that Bills jersey. Don't sleep on DeMar Hamlin.
Looking really good, and we're rocking Marlowe's number there. I mean, I think I'm with you, Steve. Like the safeties, I like them where they are. Like I just like it's a nice room. Don't mess with it. We know like Hyde and Poyer are like, they're the guys that play the 48 minutes in an NBA. Like they don't come off the field, right? They just don't. So, that would be rough. That would be rough.
Y comes in and says JP Lossman should be there. I think that Gus Johnson should be there for making Gus Johnson should be there for making JP Lossman like look cool with his
JP to Lee 2006, man. I mean, it's Gus Johnson in his prime, getting all the Bills games. JP to Lee against the Jets. JP to Lee against the Ravens.
Did Gus Johnson have one of those calls? I think it was a New England game. Was it a Lee Evans long touchdown New England from JP Lossman?
It was the Jets.
Oh, it was the Jets?
Jets, yeah.
That was mixed into our theme song for a while.
One of the best Gus Johnson NFL moments was when, do you guys remember, like, I know I'm going off topic here, but do you remember that week 1 game like years ago? It was Denver against the Bengals, and there was that crazy like tipped ball, and the Denver guy caught it off the Yes, Stokely. Yes. Steve, you got to find that.
I can't believe I just sniped.
How did you pull that? You weren't even born yet.
What the hell are you talking about? Come on.
It was Stokely, yeah. Pull up Gus Johnson, Stokely.
I got my football 10,000 hours.
That is one of the most incredible calls I've ever heard from him. He gets put in the right place at the right time for these calls, I swear.
Yeah. Philium 10X comes in and says, get pinned around on the wall. Chris Jenke with another good one. He says, who is your personal favorite rookie this year? I'm going to go.
That would be a baby incognito.
I mean, I feel like I have to say Hamlin, but I'm really excited to see what Stevenson can do. I mean, I'm not going to steal.
I wasn't going to steal Hamlin from you, but if you're not going Hamlin, I'm going to go Hamlin. I went Boogie, so you could have Hamlin.
Okay, well, I'll stick with Hamlin then, since he's been my guy.
Then I'm taking Boogie if we're all shuffling around. I mean, Boogie's up for grabs. He's mine.
How can you guys not go with an offensive lineman here?
Well, Pierre's already got Spencer Brown. Like no one can say anything. No one can take him. Like
my favorite rookie
Pierre's
is
got
someone
Spencer
that has
Brown.
a path to playing time. I don't know if
So
any of
is
the offensive
Pierre
linemen
like
have
Spencer?
one.
Pierre's got Spencer Brown's
personal protection.
He's got Spencer Brown's RAS score as his profile picture, I think.
I read the question as like who are we most looking forward to seeing on the field this season. I don't know if Jack Anderson or Spencer Brown or them are going to make their way onto the field.
Well, Hamlin shouldn't be on the field much either.
Hamlin's going to be on the field a ton.
I wouldn't mind if he is.
Much,
yeah,
he's the new Dean Marlowe. He's going to get 20% of the defensive snaps this year,
and I'd love that.
Fair enough.
DeMar Hamlin will be the dime defender for the Buffalo Bills. When we go into dime, he will be the fourth DB.
How about Wild Goose getting number 32?
Yeah, Dean Marlowe got 230 snaps last year.
I'm not a big fan of Wild Goose. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I haven't dug into his film yet, but yeah, I'm with Judge.
A little overblown.
Yeah,
he was my least favorite draft pick. Chris Jenke says personal favorite. My personal favorite is Jack Anderson. How can you not love?
Yep.
My personal favorite's still Boogie.
I don't know why I deleted the video of him saying hi. I shouldn't have deleted. That should have been up there with our favorites.
That should be like your pinned tweet. Honestly.
That should be pinned. That should be pinned. The video. I'm gonna get that up there.
Bobby's throwing some fire at Pierre here.
What is he doing?
Is Pierre still in the chat?
You better fire back, buddy.
Richard says, ask Judge. He knows Doyle is a nasty dude.
Yeah.
Tommy Doyle signed his contract today in full uniform.
Full uniform. Yeah.
That was great.
Full uniform. Man
Pads,
is right
uniform. That's like Frank Gore walking down the hallway with his helmet, getting ready to sign.
Yeah, it was like that.
Tommy O'Doyle rules. Okay, he is literally. Now that someone brought it up earlier in the comment, I want to see him at fullback this year. I want to see Tommy Doyle on the goal line at fullback this year.
Chris Janke was saying that Zimmer has fullback experience, and we know how fast Zimmer is, so I wouldn't mind that.
He's got a big Raz as well.
Yeah.
Zimmer. So
nice big
How
Raz.
do you know about his Raz?
he's got a huge Raz.
Do you like big Razes and you cannot lie?
Well, Pierre just said he's got Spencer Brown's Raz as his profile pic, and he's 6'8" or 6'9", so he's got a pretty big Raz.
My Twitter is currently blowing up, by the way.
What the
You're going viral.
New profile pic?
Oh, here's Meerkat from Trainwreck coming in with photoshopping Devin Singletary's face on that meme.
Oh
man.
Off the rails.
I'm just going to read some of these comments. I didn't watch, Judge, but is that motor, isn't it? I have a tendency to make mental notes about random stuff. One of them was, holy fuck, Singletary got ripped.
Okay. Pierre's saying he didn't. He's admitting it and saying he's watched for himself and feel we got a good first-round talent in the third. Let's fucking go. All right. Based on tonight's discussion, Reggie Gilliam isn't making this team.
I personally think Reggie Gilliam's making the team.
I think he does.
Yeah, I love Reggie Gilliam. I think he's being slept on. Honestly, I think he's a better tight end, like as a pass catcher, than we give him credit for. But his production and contributions on special teams is what's going to land him a spot on this roster ultimately.
Dark horse to make the Pro Bowl, and we're going super dark horse to make the Pro Bowl. Like this would be a real rags to riches story. Cody Ford. Dark horse, make the Pro Bowl.
I don't think it's not a popularity contest that I don't think he could.
Nah, I mean he won't. I mean you'd have to.
Gabe Davis. Could you get Gabe Davis in there?
That was a name I was thinking too.
I was thinking Emmanuel Sanders.
Maybe sneaky.
Yeah.
What about the man himself, Devin Singletary?
Dawson Knox.
No, there's no way Dawson Knox.
Spencer Brown, Pro Bowl. Pierre would. I don't think. I mean, Pierre would retire. I think he'd quit. He'd quit Buffalo Fanatics.
Dane Jackson. Like, so if Dane Jackson wins the starting job, could a guy like Dane Jackson put up the numbers with everyone?
Yes. Whoever wins cornerback 2, Judge. Whoever wins cornerback 2 is going to get thrown at a lot. So they're going to have a large sample size and a lot of tape out there. Maybe they get some tips, get some picks. That's a very good point. Whoever wins cornerback 2 is going to get thrown at because they're not going to be throwing it the other way toward Trey White.
Milano. This is actually realistic, and I think it's a good answer from Jason here. Milano could make the Pro Bowl.
I mean, is Boyer a dark horse now? Like
a lot of people, I think,
he should have made it last year.
A lot of people didn't know who Matt Milano was, and then as they started doing free agent prep for their football teams this offseason, I think a lot of people started to understand who Matt Milano is. So I think that Matt Milano's got a shot. I think his name recognition is really
because of the contract year or the free agents. Yeah,
these are two good ones. Oliver and Epenesa. Oliver. I think. I mean, would you consider him I guess you would consider him a dark horse, right? Because he's got a little bit of a cloud over his head.
He's technically in the doghouse right now. I mean. I don't consider him in the doghouse, but in terms of Bills Mafia
draft status,
yeah, exactly.
He could make it. He could make it. He could make it.
Reed Ferguson
as a gunner, maybe as a gunner.
Yeah.
What if Reed Ferguson gets all the laces perfectly for Matt Hawk to hold?
Now that's something that's underrated. We interviewed Reed Ferguson last year, and we talked about the intricacies of long snapping. It was quite interesting.
It was enthralling. You need to go back and watch it.
I'm going to. Great plug.
But I think the kicker brings his long snapper. I don't think the long snapper is voted to the Pro Bowl. So Tyler Bass would have to make the Pro Bowl. Maybe Tyler Bass makes.
Hey, that's a dark horse.
There you go.
That's a great dark horse.
Unfortunately, a 60-yarder.
They're penciling Justin Tucker. So.
Chris Bruton says, "What games are you guys planning on attending?" I have not. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was looking forward to NOLA. I don't know if NOLA is a possibility anymore because it's on Thanksgiving. Yep. I mean, I have the time off to do it because it's on Thanksgiving, so it'd be pretty sweet. But also, it's me super duper expensive, and I feel like I love my family enough to go visit.
Nashville will be the closest for me to go from where I live in North Carolina. I actually selfishly was kind of. I kind of wish the Panthers was actually on the road for the Bills because I would definitely go to that.
Maybe Kansas City.
Kansas City's further away than Nashville for me. So I mean, I would love.
Sunday night game, that'll be expensive.
Yeah.
Only one dome game this year. That's New Orleans.
Yep. I mean, Jacksonville wouldn't be bad. Could get
It's gonna
some
have
golf
to
in.
be. Our Sunday night game is on a long weekend. Oh, that Kansas City game's on a long weekend. I might have to go to that Kansas City game. That Kansas City game looking like if I'm going to an away game this year, for
Is
me,
that what is that Columbus Day weekend? Weekend?
Columbus Day weekend. Yep.
I might
What about
that might be my only choice for a road game this year. There's definitely a few home games.
Tampa in December? December could be a good one.
That's appealing, yeah.
Yeah. I think that one, Bills Mafia is already selling the shit out of that one too. People went ham on Tampa, people went ham on Tennessee, and people went ham on New Orleans. Like I saw people already complaining that like hotel rooms were booked and like tickets were scarce. So
wait, what was the second one you said? Tampa? Oh, Kansas City and New Orleans?
No. Tampa, Nashville,
Tennessee.
Guess Nashville's
Bills Mafia is like, oh, barbecue. It's fine. But I've been to Kansas City. Like the Power and Light District, Kansas City's underrated. Like,
I'll go to Jacksonville. There'll be plenty of seats available, and I can get some golf in. That's in early November. I can probably move down from the upper deck into like the 5th or 6th row by the end of the first quarter. And there we go. I'll get to see Trevor Lawrence on the field there.
See, I've been to New Orleans and Bourbon Street. I think New Orleans is 1,000 times better than Nashville.
I would agree. I've been to both.
Just French Quarter. Not to mention the history. You can do a ton if you're not into all of that.
Yeah, Nashville. No offense to Nashville, because I've never been there. From everything I've heard, they are quickly, like, I don't want to say gentrifying, but commercializing. New Orleans will never commercialize. You will never commercialize that city. That city will forever and for always be small business, like true to its roots.
I had a good time in both, but I would agree. New Orleans gets
having been to New Orleans, I did have a big old drink at the very first bar in North America, Lafitte's. So it was awesome.
Cool. Loved it there.
Awesome time in New Orleans. And you're right. I wish it wasn't on Thanksgiving because that was the game I wanted to go to.
Fried gator.
That was the killer.
Fried gator is extremely underrated, by the way. Gator on a stick, can't beat it.
Tastes like chicken.
Not to mention beignets every morning.
Oh, beignet, yeah. There you go.
But hey, if anyone makes it out to the Kansas City game, I'm thinking about heading out to Kansas City for that Kansas City game. I will be there. We can meet at Boulevard Brewery, one of my favorite breweries. So let me know if you're all hitting up Kansas City because I think that's going to be. I think that'll be my road game this year. Power and Light District is nothing. And there's an Adams Mark Hotel for all you Buffalo people. There's an Adams Mark Hotel across from Arrowhead Stadium with a water park in it.
It's probably sold out already.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we got one more. We got anything else?
Nope. Yeah, I got one thing for you, Judge. I was listening to one of your recent podcasts, and you declared yourself the king of petty.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, you did.
And I think I might know someone who could challenge you on that. Drew Gear. You want to put it out there? You want to put a challenge out there to Mr. Drew Gear?
I think
who is the king of petty?
I think
can we just have a 2-man bracket like they did with the Buffalo personalities? We just have like Judge versus Gear.
I think you already in both of our DMs trying to plan something for this July. A petty off,
yeah.
I believe is what you're.
Yeah, a petty debate, and I want to get you on the record challenging Drew Gear, so maybe he could respond pettily.
All right. Well, all I'm going to say is, Drew, listen. More of an orange pepper guy than a green pepper guy. So bring it on. Bring it on.
Orange peppers or green peppers. We'll have to do this deep in the off season, right? Maybe dog days of summer before training camp.
I've never seen a man raw dog a pepper. He's the only person I've ever seen. Just raw dog and a green pepper.
That's disgusting.
Kudos to him.
If you're like truly meaning raw
dog,
like
an apple. He's eating it like an apple.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going with like all the way raw dog.
He's not fucking the green pepper. He's not fucking the green pepper.
You'd have some problems if that was the case.
Yeah. Yep.
On the latest Raw Power report, I fucking pepper.
Yeah. I mean,
as a season
like an apple.
No, he eats it like an apple.
That's interesting, man. I don't
Never
like
seen
bell
anything like
peppers
it.
that much to begin with, but
I've
man,
never seen
That
anything like
just
it.
that seems so weird because it's hollow on the inside.
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah,
you-
that's
There are
true.
seeds.
I mean, it's technically no different than if you like chopped it up and just ate it, like right
It's
with
just
some dip or
weird.
something. It's just you're eating it differently.
It's stigmatized.
Yes.
It's not right.
it's kind of
not
like
right.
peeling a grapefruit and eating that like a peeled orange.
I don't eat grapefruit. Grapefruits are gross.
I hate grapefruit. They're
You
nasty.
guys are weird.
Grapefruit's disgusting. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Drew Gear, it's on this July. Name the time, name the place, and we will have ourselves a petty off for the ages. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure for Jeff Landers, for producer Kendall, for Tilt Money. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.